President Joe Biden and presumed Republican nominee Donald Trump faced off Thursday night in the first general election debate of the 2024 campaign, a critical moment to influence the political narrative and attract undecided voters. A lot has changed since their last debate 4 years ago. A mob of election deniers attacked the Capitol to stop the 2020 election certification. The Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. The COVID-19 pandemic subsided, exposing significant issues in the economy, public education, and government trust. Trump became a convicted felon. Illegal border crossings surged past 2 million, and ongoing foreign wars created uncertain implications for the U.S. The debate is taking place weeks before Democrats and Republicans formally nominate their presidential candidates at their July conventions, signaling an unusually early start for a country already known for its prolonged campaign seasons. But Trump swept through the Republican primaries earlier this year, rallying the GOP around him once more, a dramatic political renaissance for a president who exited office in disgrace in 2021 and was recently convicted on 34 felony charges. A new Reuters Ipsos poll reveals that voters view Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump as stronger on economic issues, but prefer Democratic President Joe Biden's stance on preserving democracy. The poll, conducted with 1,019 U.S. adults, including 856 registered voters, shows a divided electorate less than 5 months before the November 5th election. Key findings include Trump leads Biden 43% to 37% on the economy. Trump also leads on immigration, 44% to 31%, and foreign conflicts, terrorism, 40% to 35%. Biden is favored on responding to political extremism threats to democracy, 39% to 33%, and healthcare policy, 40% to 29%. The poll, with a margin of error of 3.2 percentage points for all respondents and 3.5 for registered voters, also indicates the two candidates are nearly tied in the presidential race according to previous polls. Here are the 8 top moments of the first 2024 Trump versus Biden presidential debate. Their first exchange focused on the economy. Biden spoke softly, his voice hoarse, as he highlighted the economic gains during his presidency, claiming he had rescued the economy from free fall and chaos after taking over from Trump in 2021. He cleared his throat several times. Trump listened with a bemused expression, but did not interrupt, as his microphone was muted while Biden spoke.
We got to take a look at what I was left when I became president, what Mr. Trump left me. We had an economy that was in free fall. The pandemic was so badly handled. Many people were dying. All he said was, it's not that serious. Just inject a little bleach into your arm. You'll be all right. The economy collapsed. There were no jobs. Unemployment rate rose to 15%. It was terrible. And so what we had to do is try to put things back together again. And that's exactly what we began to do. We created 15,000 new jobs. We brought out the position where we have 800,000 new manufacturing jobs. But there's more to be done. There's more to be done. Working class people are still in trouble. I come from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I come of households where the kitchen table, if the things weren't able to be met during the month, it was a problem. Price of eggs, the price of gas, the price of housing, the price of a whole range of things. That's why I'm working so hard to make sure I deal with those problems. And we're going to make sure that we reduce the price of housing. We're going to make sure we build 2 million new units. We're going to make sure we cap rents so corporate greed can't take over. The combination, what I was left with in corporate greed, is the reason why we're in this problem right now.
When it was Trump's turn, he boasted about the strong state of the economy during his term, saying, everything was rocking good. He blamed Biden for the rising prices frustrating Americans. Inflation is killing our country, Trump said. It's absolutely killing us.
We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. We have never done so well. Everybody was amazed by it. Other countries were copying us. We got hit with COVID. And when we did, we spent the money necessary so we wouldn't end up in a Great Depression, the likes of which we had in 1929. By the time we finished, so we did a great job. We got a lot of credit for the economy, a lot of credit for the military, and no wars, and so many other things. Everything was rocking good. But the thing we never got the credit for, and we should have, is getting us out of that COVID mess He created mandates that was a disaster for our country. But other than that, we had given them back a country where the stock market actually was higher than pre-COVID, and nobody thought that was even possible. The only jobs he created are for illegal immigrants and bounce-back jobs, a bounce back from the COVID. He has not done a good job. He's done a poor job, and inflation's killing our country. It is absolutely killing us.
Within minutes of taking the debate stage, it was clear that Biden's voice was going to be an issue. He appeared very hoarse. Biden, 81, and Trump, 78, are the oldest candidates ever to seek the U.S. presidency. And each campaign has tried to portray the other as senile and frail. On Thursday night, Trump capitalized on this narrative.
On the total initiative relative to what we can do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
Earlier, while discussing domestic programs he hoped to fund by taxing wealthy Americans, Biden appeared to stumble for several seconds before trailing off and pausing. Moments later, he managed to say, "We finally beat Medicare."
Child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our health care system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID. With dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare.
Biden later gained momentum, firing back at Trump over his claim that he doesn't care about our veterans. Referencing a 2020 Atlantic article in which Trump allegedly called fallen soldiers suckers, Biden brought up his late son, Beau Biden.
I went to the World War II cemetery, World War I cemetery he refused to go to. He was standing with his four-star general, and he told me, he said, "I don't want to go in there because they're a bunch of losers and suckers." My son was not a loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser.
President Trump?
First of all, that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up. It was in a third-rate magazine that's failing, like many of these magazines. He made that up. He put it in commercials. We've notified him. We had 19 people that said I didn't say it. And think of this. Who would say I'm at a cemetery or I'm talking about our veterans? Because nobody's taken better care. I'm so glad this came up, and he brought it up. There's nobody that's taken better care of our soldiers than I have. To think that I would, in front of generals and others, say suckers and losers. We have 19 people that said it was never said by me. It was made up by him.
Joe Biden highlighted a plan from some House Republicans to cut $1.5 trillion in Social Security benefits by raising the retirement age as evidence that Donald Trump aims to reduce the program. While Republican leaders in Congress have backed away from cutting Social Security benefits, many believe the current state of the program is unsustainable in the long run.
Because all of these people are coming in. They're putting them on Medicare. They're putting them on Social Security. They're going to destroy Social Security. This man is going to single-handedly destroy Social Security. These millions and millions of people coming in, they're trying to put them on Social Security. He will wipe out Social Security. He will wipe out Medicare. So he was right in the way he finished that sentence. And it's a shame. What's happened to our country in the last 4 years is not to be believed. Foreign countries, I'm friends with a lot of people, they cannot believe what happened to the United States of America. We're no longer respected. They don't like us. We give them everything they want, and they think we're stupid. They think we're very stupid people. What we're doing for other countries, and they do nothing for us. What this man has done is absolutely criminal.
Debate questions shifted to the events of January 6, 2021, when supporters of then-President Donald Trump stormed the U.S. Capitol during the certification of the Electoral College vote count. Host Jake Tapper asked Trump if he had violated his oath to protect and defend the Constitution. In response, Trump quickly pivoted to immigration and taxes.
As president, you swore an oath to, quote, preserve, protect, and defend, unquote, the Constitution. What do you say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through your actions and inaction on January 6th and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I don't think too many believe that. And let me tell you about January 6th. On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through, very few. On January 6th, we were energy independent. On January 6th, we had the lowest taxes ever. We had the lowest regulations ever. On January 6th, we were respected all over the world. All over the world, we were respected. And then he comes in, and we're now laughed at. We're like a bunch of stupid people. That what happened to the United States' reputation under this man's leadership.
When pressed about his role in the Capitol attack, he claimed he had encouraged people to act peacefully and patriotically, then attacked former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. On January 6th, rioters engaged in hand-to-hand combat with police and used makeshift weapons, including flagpoles, a table leg, a hockey stick, and a crutch, to attack officers.
You'll do it again.
Well, I didn't say that to anybody. I said peacefully and patriotically. And Nancy Pelosi, if you just watched the news from 2 days ago, on tape to her daughter, who's a documentary filmmaker, they say, but she's saying, oh, no, it's my responsibility. I was responsible for this. Because I offered her 10,000 soldiers or National Guard, and she turned them down.
We have responsibility, Terry. We did not have any accountability for what was going on there, and we should have. This is ridiculous. You're going to ask me in the middle of the thing when they've already breached the inaugural stuff that should we call the Capitol Police? I mean the National Guard? Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with?
They thought that they had sufficient resources.
That is not a question of how they had been. They don't know. They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more.
Trump falsely claimed that then House Speaker Nancy Pelosi turned down his offer to send 10,000 soldiers or National Guard to the Capitol during the January 6th insurrection. Pelosi does not control the National Guard. As the Capitol came under attack, she and then Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell called for military assistance, including the National Guard. The decision to call National Guard troops to the Capitol lies with the Capitol Police Board, which includes the House Sergeant at Arms, the Senate Sergeant at Arms, and the architect of the Capitol. The board decided not to call the Guard ahead of the insurrection, but eventually requested assistance after the rioting had begun, with troops arriving several hours later. There is no evidence that either Pelosi or McConnell directed security officials not to call the Guard beforehand. Almost 45 minutes into the debate, President Joe Biden finally mentioned former President Donald Trump's recent felony conviction in New York. During a discussion about the January 6th insurrection, Biden remarked, "The only person on this stage that's a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at right now," referring to Trump.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at right now. And the fact of the matter is, what he's telling you is simply not true. The fact is that there was no effort on his part to stop what was going on up in Capitol Hill. And all those people, every one of those who were convicted, turned over desks, turned them over statues. The idea that those people are patriots? Come on. When I asked him the first two debates we had, first time around, I said, will you denounce the Proud Boys? He said, no, I'll tell them to stand by. The idea he's refusing, will you denounce these guys? Will you denounce the people we're talking about now? Will you denounce the people who attacked that Capitol? What are you going to do?
Trump then attempted to shift the focus from his own legal issues by calling Biden's son, Hunter, a convicted felon. He was referring to Hunter Biden's recent felony conviction on 3 firearms charges. Trump also reiterated long-standing claims involving the Bidens and Ukraine, a common attack point for Republicans.
Yes, but when he talks about a convicted felon, his son is a convicted felon at a very high level. His son is convicted, going to be convicted probably numerous other times. Should have been convicted before, but his Justice Department let the statute of limitations lapse on the most important things. But he could be a convicted felon as soon as he gets out of office. Joe could be a convicted felon with all of the things that he's done. He's done horrible things. All of the death caused at the border, telling the Ukrainian people that we're going to want $1 billion or you change the prosecutor. Otherwise, you're not getting $1 billion. If I ever said that, that's quid pro quo. That we're not going to do anything. We're not going to give you $1 billion unless you change your prosecutor having to do with the son. This man is a criminal. This man, you're lucky. You're lucky. I did nothing wrong. we'd have a system that was rigged and disgusting. I did nothing wrong.
Joe Biden pushed back against Donald Trump's claims of pressuring European allies to increase defense spending. "This is a guy who wants to pull out of NATO," Biden said, adding that he got 50 other nations to support Ukraine against Russia's invasion. Biden responded forcefully to Trump's NATO comments, saying he has no idea what the hell he's talking about.
I've never heard so much foolishness. This is a guy who wants to get out of NATO. You're going to stay in NATO? He's going to pull out of NATO. The idea that we have, our strength lies in our alliances as well. It may be a big ocean, but we're ever able to avoid a war in Europe, a major war in Europe? What happens if, in fact, you have Putin continuing to go into NATO? We have an Article 5 agreement. Attack on one is attack on all. You want to start the nuclear war he keeps talking about, go ahead. Let Putin go in and control Ukraine and then move on to Poland and other places. See what happens then. He has no idea what the hell he's talking about. And by the way, I got 50 other nations around the world to support Ukraine, including Japan and South Korea, because they understand that this kind of dislocation has a serious threat to the whole world peace. No major war in Europe has ever been able to be contained just to Europe.
Former President Trump suggested that Russia would never have attacked Ukraine if he had been in office. If we had a real president, a president that was respected by Putin, he would have never invaded Ukraine, Trump said.
Former President Trump, Russian President Vladimir Putin says he'll only end this war if Russia keeps the Ukrainian territory it has already claimed and Ukraine abandons its bid to join NATO. Are Putin's terms acceptable to you?
First of all, our veterans and our soldiers can't stand this guy. They can't stand him. They think he's the worst commander-in-chief, if that's what you call him, that we've ever had. They can't stand him. So let's get that straight. And they like me more than just about any of them. And that's based on every single bit of information. As far as Russia and Ukraine, if we had a real president, the president that knew, that was respected by Putin, he would have never invaded Ukraine.
Trump has a long history of praising Russian President Vladimir Putin's toughness, even calling Putin's tactics in the 2022 invasion of Ukraine genius and very savvy. In contrast, Trump has expressed little warmth for Ukraine or its President Volodymyr Zelensky, recently calling Zelensky a salesman for his military aid requests to the United States. Former President Donald Trump criticized the housing of migrants who arrive illegally, claiming they are placed in luxury hotels while veterans remain on the streets. He focused heavily on migrant crime and asserted that migrants are coming into the U.S. illegally from mental institutions and insane asylums, a claim he has frequently made at rallies without providing evidence.
We are living right now in a rat's nest. They're killing our people in New York, in California, in every state in the union, because we don't have borders anymore. Every state is now a border. And because of his ridiculous, insane, and very stupid policies, people are coming in and they're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen. We call it migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime. They're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen before. And you're reading it like these three incredible young girls over the last few days. One of them, I just spoke to the mother, and he just had the funeral for this girl, 12 years old. This is horrible what's taken place. What's taken place in our country, we're literally an uncivilized country now. He doesn't want it to be. He just doesn't know. He opened the borders. Nobody's ever seen anything like. And we have to get a lot of these people out, and we have to get them out fast, because they're going to destroy our country. Just take a look at where they're living. They're living in luxury hotels.
Trump also claimed he had the safest border in history, a highly questionable assertion and a familiar talking point. President Joe Biden emphasized a 40% drop in arrests for illegal immigration since issuing an executive order suspending asylum, sticking to his talking points on immigration. He aims to make progress on this issue, which has become a national priority.
That's not the right way to go. What I've done since I've changed the law, what's happened? I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. That's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we can do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Joe Biden blamed Donald Trump during the debate for the surge of state abortion restrictions since the fall of Roe v. Wade. Trump, as president, appointed 3 justices to the U.S. Supreme Court who contributed to the majority that overturned the constitutional right to abortion, a point he has proudly claimed during his campaign. Biden has made Trump's connection to the overturning of Roe v. Wade and its impact on pregnant people across the U.S. a cornerstone of his campaign, warning that a second Trump term could lead to nationwide abortion restrictions. On the debate stage, Trump stated he supports abortion ban exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. These exceptions are central to a recent U.S. Supreme Court ruling.
And how many this is getting into other things, but every legal scholar throughout the world, the most respected, wanted it brought back to the states. I did that. Now the states are working it out. If you look at Ohio, it was a decision that was an end result that was a little bit more liberal than you would have thought. Kansas, I would say the same thing. Texas is different. Florida is different. But they're all making their own decisions right now. And right now, the states control it. That's the vote of the people. Like Ronald Reagan, I believe in the exceptions. I am a person that believes. And frankly, I think it's important to believe in the exceptions. Some people, you have to follow your heart. Some people don't believe in that. But I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. I think it's very important.
Idaho's abortion ban only has an exception to save the life of the mother, not her health, preventing women from getting abortions in medical emergencies. Trump reiterated his states' rights stance on abortion, claiming he returned the issue to individual states after the overturning of Roe v. Wade, which previously granted a federal right to abortion. This stance attempts to navigate the issue, which has become a vulnerability for Republicans and driven turnout for Democrats. While Trump has claimed the people are now deciding abortion access, this is not true everywhere. About half the states do not allow direct citizen-led ballot measures. In states that do, abortion rights coalitions have faced significant opposition from anti-abortion groups trying to thwart citizen initiatives on reproductive rights. In the past 2 years, voters in 7 states, including conservative ones like Kentucky, Montana, and Ohio, have either protected abortion rights or defeated attempts to restrict them through statewide votes.
Former President Trump, to follow up, you would be 82 at the end of your second term. What do you say to voters who have concerns about your capabilities to serve?
Well, I took 2 tests, cognitive tests. I aced them, both of them, as you know. We made it public. He took none. I'd like to see him take one, just one, a real easy one. Like go through the first 5 questions, he couldn't do it. But I took 2 cognitive tests. I took physical exams every year. And, you know, we knock on wood wherever we may have wood, that I'm in very good health. I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way, and I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. I think I'm in very good shape. I feel that I'm as in good a shape as I was 25, 30 years ago. Actually, I'm probably a little bit lighter, but I'm in as good a shape as I was years ago. I feel very good. I feel the same. But I was willing to take a cognitive test. And you know what? If I didn't do well, I aced him. Dr. Ronnie Jackson, who's a great guy when he was White House doctor. And then I took another one, a similar one. And one of them said they'd never seen anybody ace him.
Thank you. President Biden?
You can see he is 6'5" and only 225 pounds, or 235 pounds. Well, you said 6'4", 200. Well, anyway, anyway, just take a look at what he says he is and take a look at what he is. Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. But by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
That's the biggest lie. It's a 6 handicap of all.
I was at 8 handicap. 8. But I had, you know how many?
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
Let's
not act like children.
President Trump, we're going to
21
Let's not act like children.